What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Price to Sell podcast. It's your host, Matthew Campoli. And today, of course, I only bring on the best. We have another fantastic guest, value-packed for you guys. Super excited about this one. We have Mr. Justin Konikow. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. He also has way better hair than I do, and I'm very upset about that.
I haven't had a haircut in a couple weeks, so
I'm in major need. I'm actually going after this. So we're going to cut out my face for the day. Just focus on shoulders down.
Okay.
But thank you so much for coming, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. Again, beautiful day in Toronto. Love to be here. I'm sitting in royalty. I know Leonetti, Takar, a bunch of other monsters in the industry. So honored to be here.
I love it, man. And it's been a long time in the works. So fantastic to finally have you on. We're meeting for the first time too. So super excited. But let's give the audience a little bit of Justin, some background into your story and what you do. And we'll talk about Prime and everything. So let's get into that.
Yeah, I mean, origin story. I was born and raised in Montreal. Grew up in a beautiful city, lots of culture, melting pot, friends from every walk of life. You know, my second parents were Italian and Greek and Egyptian and Lebanese and everything you could possibly imagine. I know a little bit of every language because I grew up in that city. I was there till I was about 18. Montreal was too much fun. So I left in order to just figure out what I wanted to do with my life. My sister was actually in Western at that time at kinesiology, had a great relationship with her. And I was like, you know, she brought me to London to really get away from the craziness in Montreal and kind of find myself, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I was very young. I want to call it 17, 18 was right kind of when I made that transition. And went to London. I got right into hospitality. So my first job ever was working at a bar called Jim Bob Ray's in London, Ontario. Jim Bob Ray's. So coming from Montreal, very, very cultured city, amazing restaurants.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to a place called Jim Bob's. What is this place? And I went there. And, you know, this was in a transitional period, I think, in London's history when it was early 2000s. It was still a really big, small town. So it was a university town. Everybody knew each other. There wasn't a lot of kind of large governance or oversight. And it really was still that just felt like you were at a big house party, and started working in hospitality, and just I enjoyed being in the mix with people on a regular basis and being that customer service field for a very long time. I went to school for digital imaging and animation. I went to marketing, advertising. I worked for a gentleman named Mike Smith for about 10 years who became a mentor of mine as well, and a lot of the other people in management there, because I saw he led his organization with a servant mentality, right? He was sweeping up cigarettes in the parking lot and just being that guy. So kind of came up in that industry. Now, again, fast forward, a lot happened in between there. Now I own a real estate brokerage called Prime Real Estate. We also own a production company called Prime Media Productions, and I'm an agent that's actually in production in an industry where a lot of agents are trying to get out of production. I'm the opposite. I actually want to be the number one agent on the planet.
Love it.
Most trusted name in real estate, and Prime is a very different brokerage too. So most brokerages are in the recruiting business. We are not. We turned away about 35 agents over the last year and a half, 2 years. Not from a place where we're cocky and we think we're better than anybody else. We're just very big on culture. It has to be the right people. And we're about people before profits. And the platform that Prime provides is really what we're focused on, right? So trying to create something like the industry's never seen. That's where we're at today.
Love it. I love those goals, man. I write similar things in my journal every morning. So
good.
Love to see it. Same wavelength. But let's segue into Prime a bit. So let's give, it is a different kind of model structure, brokerage office, and you are active. Most broker owners are not, right? So that's different in itself. But let's talk about Prime a little bit. Give a little info on what makes it so special.
Well, I'd say we're probably the most nimble and adaptive brokerage on the planet. And I can say that confidently because I've looked at a lot of the business models that are out there, and no strike to any other business model. They just weren't the right fit for me, right? And I do think that there's a place for everybody in this industry. Like, you can write down the same goals as I'm writing down, and I can still be here and collaborate with you because you're not going to take any food off my plate. Right? The more we get better together, the more I'm going to see you succeeding. It's going to make me wake up 10% earlier, or work out a little bit harder, or, show up a little bit better. Because if you build a community of people, it elevates you. So I think the number one reason why Prime is what it is is the ability of the organization to provide other people the ability to lift each other up is why we are where we are today. So I always joke, like the number one thing in my mind is I don't own the business. Neither does my wife. My name's on the door. Our name's on the lease. We obviously are the ones taking the risk running the company. We look at God as the owner of our business. We happen to be the stewards of it. Now, the best way for us to steward that is by putting other people's interests above our own. So the founding principle of our brokerage is do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather than humility, value others above yourself. So we've created a culture where if we're having a big picnic and everybody's bringing food to the table, you'll get two types of agents. You get some agents that are coming there complaining that that guy's got the best plate of food, or, you know, they didn't bring anything, or they're just coming to take. Probably not the right fit for Prime.
Yeah.
Then you got other people that show up and you bring me on your podcast. Maybe I try to make an intro to Ryan Serhant. Like we try and outgive each other.
Of course.
That is what has led to Prime being where it is today. And honestly, it's the culture piece that makes us different, I think, than anywhere else. Because I can say I have seen with my own eyes agents, you know, throw themselves in front of the bus for other independent agents at the same firm for no gain of themselves.
Yes.
Right. And that's what's caused us to really have a unique advantage, I think, in this industry.
Yeah, I think that's important to touch on too, because a lot of people look at our industry like it's cutthroat and, you know, it's you versus me, dog eat dog.
Yep.
Whereas it's really, you know, a dance between everyone and coming to meet in the middle and just flowing together. Culture is so important in brokerage. I love that you are very strict on what comes in, and you're not allowing just anything to come in just so you can like make an extra buck, you know? So
it's been an evolution though, right? Because
sure.
like I'll be honest with everybody, we are also very vulnerable. Like I'll share with my direct team everything about the vision on where we're going, but we're not going to be afraid to change. And I wasn't always as thoughtful about the culture pieces coming in. And, you know, I think it just comes with time and being self-aware of where are you at, where's the industry, where do you want to fit yourself in that, and how can you serve your agents. We actually just had a very recent thing come up at the brokerage where, you know, my wife and I were away on vacation, and we're seeing phenomenal success with our people. And I don't want to use the word team, but the people within our organization. And I'm seeing like glimmers of where I was. And I'm like, these people are killing it. They need help. One way that we can help them is by incentivizing them. So we have a fee structure like every other brokerage. Yep. There's always a dynamic between agents of like, they're looking for the office with the cheapest fees, or they're looking for a revenue share in all these different ways. My game is net. Regardless of all of the tactics brokerages will use, just like agents and everything else, to explain why their fee structure is the best or why they're going to make you the most money, I look at our bottom line and I look at our agent's bottom line. And we just made a shift recently we didn't have to make. This is the second time we've done this, where we looked at the compensation structure and we looked at a shift in it to benefit them on inter-office referral and business, so we can almost have like collaborations within the brokerage that make them more money. We probably just cut 6 figures from our bottom line. But that was my wife's doing, saying the founding principle of the brokerage is do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. So rather than being like every other brokerage and just trying to nickel and dime and take every dollar we can, we just gave them back a ton. But I know that that's going to lead to doubling our business. They're going to be excited about it, right?
That's so rare.
But the people are the capital, not the brokerages anymore. The individuals and the brands are the capital. I can say this to the audience and to every one of my agents. They don't need me. I don't need them. But we're better together than we are apart. And I think that's the world that we're going into.
And I love what you shared there. You said you share your vision with them. I mean, you know, I'm reading a book called Vision right now, and it's literally about getting everyone involved in your vision with you so it becomes their vision. Like a lot of people may be at an office, they may not know at all where their broker record is taking
the company.
Right? They just see him do his thing, maybe say hi, what's up, but like, then it leaves them in a situation where it's like, okay, what's their, like, what's going on, what's coming up, you know? So big piece of the culture right there. And then my next question is, you have a big religious background?
So I'll give you the background. Let me answer the first question, and then I'll answer the second piece for the faith component. So as far as sharing my vision with the broker, they probably see me more than they want to, right? Because normally the owner dynamic with the agents that are in the field, especially when it's somebody maybe they came to because they're like, man, I want to get around somebody that's doing business, learn what they're doing. I give it all.
Yeah.
Like we do huddles all the time. We do role play rooms. I'm hosting constant events. I'm like, if I have an idea, I'm telling them about it. If I found a way to market a property, just to me, iron sharpens iron, right?
Yes.
Like working out ideas and me talking about it out loud is one reason why we have success. That's a double-edged sword, because as a leader, if you give unfettered access, sometimes they'll take it for granted. And then other people not in the ecosystem would pay me crazy money for some of the stuff I'll teach them. But it's almost like it's not even something you think about, because you see it every day and it just becomes part of the culture and the nature. So that's the reason why I share that piece. Also, the agents impact the culture. So I'll ask them and audit them, like, what do you want?
Yes.
Right? Do you have somebody that would be a good fit to the organization? Like most of our agents came via that. The second piece, I grew up Catholic and, went altar boy, did all the things, and then went to London. I definitely fell away from God for a very, very long time, and I was living for the world, right? I was fast life. I was in the restaurants, lots of friends, all the things that you think would ideate success, but I was just had a hole in my heart, and I always did. And I always had a relationship with God, but I fell way, way off. Like I struggled with addiction in a very, very big way and almost died probably 3 times.
Wow.
And when I came back from that, I went cold turkey for 6 weeks. And anyways, long story short, stayed sober for a period of time. I was still drinking at the time and met my wife. We got married, fell in love, all the things, and just still kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like I was definitely finding my way back to my faith, actually through her mother initially, because her mom is an amazing woman. They're incredible business owners and just not somebody that like beats you over the head with it, like stands on a pulpit, have you heard the good news? More so just leads you to just have conversations and that self-reflection. We had our daughter, and during that time, it was a higher risk pregnancy. And my wife, wasn't drinking, obviously, because she was pregnant. And I'm like, I won't drink either, just to like have your back, right? Like if I'm out and I need to come get you, something happens, I want to be sober. So I was sober for 9 months, completely sober, and that changed my life. Mm-hmm. Now I haven't touched a drink in over a decade. Wow. And complete game changer.
Okay.
But that time that I had through that kind of growth journey led me to kind of my faith journey, where everything I do now is to shine the light that God's put in me and other people, because I do find that 3 times in my life I had a dichotomy of like, you can stay in Montreal, you can become this person, or you can go and try and fix yourself. And I tried to fix myself, and I couldn't do it on my own. Was in the restaurant industry, fell into that trap, couldn't fix myself, couldn't do it on my own, hit ground zero. 3rd time was he knocked on my door again, and he's like, are you done?
Yeah.
Like, you want me to help you with this? And when I said yes, that's when everything changed, right? And it became about more what I'm doing now. A big piece of it is to try and impart that light into other people and see, like, I see it in you, even though you may not see it in yourself, right?
Yeah, that's so powerful. Well, like, amazing, man. That's such a good story. And I think a lot of people have lost touch with that and connection with that and, like, what comes with it, And, like, you're just full of energy, man. Like, you're lit up. So
yeah,
it's awesome that the people that you work with are able to experience that from you and gain, like, just literally just take your energy and bring it out to themselves. So super cool.
I always say that, like, my energy might be compared to getting shot out of a cannon. So when I speak sometimes on stages, I prep the room a little bit.
Yeah.
But my energy is not for everybody, and I don't think anybody else needs to be me either, right? I think I'm good at putting energy behind ideas. There's a great book called Rocket Fuel. Any entrepreneur should read it. It's about visionaries and integrators. I'll come up with 100 ideas, but I need somebody like Konikow on the production side to ideate or like create the actual products, right? I may not be the one that has the patience to do it, and I've recognized that. So I think in your weaknesses lie the biggest opportunities to surround yourself with the right people.
Definitely. You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
Learning a lot from you right now, so thank you.
It's all good. It's why we're here, right?
Yes, exactly. And I do want to segue into the Prime Media side of things.
Sure.
Because I think, like we look at brokerages nowadays, you have a lot of these, Sirhan, for example.
Sure.
Full-on media team. I've seen them.
Yeah.
I looked and, their bottom
What's up,
floor.
Adrian? What's up, Rad? And everybody else, yeah.
And it's just super cool to have all that stuff in-house. Like, I feel like a lot of that is kind of the future on where things are headed, especially with this fast-paced world, right? Virtual, whatever. Yep. So let's talk about Prime Media and, like, kind of what your goals are there and what you've been able to do with that. Like, you have podcasts, you have all that. So let's talk about it all.
Yeah, I mean, I had fun popping in here, right? You talk about energy and collaboration. We were chatting about the podcast, and we shout out to Dig Nation, Kevin Rose, and Alex Albrecht. I mean, we're talking like a decade plus old podcasts, right? So I was always in the creative endeavors. I happened to fall in love with real estate and be good at that, but I was always a creative, right? So I shoot, I edit, I went to school for digital imaging and animations.
Cool.
I also don't have the patience to sit in front of a computer for hours and be, somebody that can really output something at the quality that I want to do. So Prime Media really started by me being Prime Media, right? So I started a series called Prime Daily back in like 2013. It was off Gary Vee, right? So it was, I forget the Daily V he called it. And it was a video a day. And it was, something about the contract, whatever I was doing. I was at an inspection. Hey, this is an octopus furnace. Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
The most random stuff. I was a scattergun for years, but it generated a lot of business, like a lot of business. People told me I was nuts. People made fun of me about it in the industry. I heard people through other people.
Those are the best, though.
The haters, right?
You need those.
They hate you because they ain't you.
Yes.
Like my good friend Giselle Lagarte says, haters are just confused admirers. They wish they could do what you do, or they just resent themselves because of whatever reason. I love for them. I pray for them, and I hope that they find whatever they're passionate about. But the creative outlet is something I like. So the first thing I would say to anybody that's like, well, that's what makes him successful. It's not. It's I found something that I liked to do that synergized with my business that became an output or a lead generation tool for my business as well. So I started doing a lot of media, and I was doing everything. And then one day I met Greg Latham at the Fanshawe College, and he had an intern that wanted to work with us. So actually his good buddy, Gio, came in, worked with us. What's up, Gio?
Shout out, Gio.
Yeah, worked with us for a little bit, started doing some of the shooting and the vlogging and the stuff that I was doing and taking that off my workload. And then we went through a couple years of iteration working with independent contractors where other people just like Gio would come across my plate. COVID happened. Everybody was shut down. People knew I did media. They started calling me. I started hiring people on an independent contractor basis. And then, same thing. I want to bring out the best in people. A lot of times I'm not a place where I want to be a prison and keep people trapped in. Sometimes their life changed and they moved. He called me during COVID and was like, hey, you guys do media stuff. Like, are you looking for anybody? There was a link between him and a guy named Derek Sung, who runs Premier Productions in London. Salt of the earth guy, like longtime friend. I shot him a quick text. You know Nico? Yeah. Is he cool? Awesome. That was enough. So I was like, hey, Nico, come in. Like, we don't have a spot for you, but we'll make one. He started working with us, and then we ended up getting Eric, and then we got Theo, and then we do marketing communication. So we essentially created a media team to solve all of the problems for the things that I was trying to solve. The company started doing work for outside businesses when people that we knew by referral wanted to work with us or output the content we were outputting. We did a little bit of work with people that were kind of just calling us randomly, but then we stopped that and we said, we got to stay on our core focus. The media company is geared towards the real estate brokerage. So we're exclusive to the agents. We don't work with anybody outside of our brokerage, but we also work with select referral partners. So we do stuff in fitness, hospitality. We're doing stuff in the legal space. We have somebody in a very high end sports outfit that's working with us and doing some work as well. So, it's still early on in terms of the iteration of what it could be. But I also think something very interesting about Prime Media is we're not out there to just create a whole bunch of reoccurring revenue businesses. We want to teach people how to actually do it so they can do it themselves, right? So I do think the education component and what Prime Media could be might be even more valuable than just the production side of the business.
Definitely. And do you find that as you're able to pump out mass amounts of content consistently, like what has that done for your business? Like they're just any realtor out there who's like, oh, I want to start video content, stuff like that. Like you're doing it at such a high level. Jazz does it at such a high level, what has that done for the business in itself?
I mean, it's undeniable, right? I'm sitting here because of it.
Yes.
I'll use Clubhouse as an example.
I just liked your hair. That's why you're here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No, I'll use Clubhouse as an example.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. Everybody poo-poos Clubhouse. And they're like, well, it came on, social audio, took off, it died off super quick and everything as well too. Okay. Super interesting. I just picked up a 20-unit townhouse project off Clubhouse. So now what? right? Just by showing up consistently.
Yes.
And I never asked for the business. I just talked and I collaborated, and I was in a lot of networking rooms for real estate. I host a Canadian real estate networking room to this day, every Wednesday, 11:30 to 12. I got off the call with you.
Yes.
That was the networking room I was running.
Very cool.
I was interacting with agents.
That was Clubhouse?
Yeah, that was Clubhouse.
Awesome, man.
I was in BC. I was in Calgary. I was dealing with people in Toronto, Montreal. I had people in Virginia, Massachusetts. I had people from across North America. And we talked about this before. If you're looking to buy or sell in Florida, call me or call him. We'll send you to the best agents and we can do some business. So now Clubhouse and the conversation I just said on your podcast, that's a piece of content.
Yes.
Anybody watching this that happens to know me is like, oh yeah, Justin's got the best agents in Florida. Awesome. You call me. I'll make sure you get the best person, get the best deal, and we do business.
Yes.
So I look at all content creation the same way. It can be an Instagram post. It can be an Instagram story. It can be a YouTube video. It can be a Facebook story. All of those pieces of content, it's the digital bus sign, right? It's brand awareness. And if you do it consistently long enough, I can take a week or two off and it still looks like I'm around because the algorithms are still taking old stuff, pumping it up in the new stuff. And it becomes easier as you do it. The other piece is I've refined who I am, what I do, and why I do it.
Yeah.
So Prime Real Estate is one of the only brokerages that does residential, commercial investments. We do new development, recreational property, and agriculture. I wasn't always able to say it that seamlessly, but I've said it in 100 pieces of content.
Yes.
So now maybe you're looking to buy 40 acres of farmland, which is like the ultra luxury property of Southwestern Ontario, right? Now you know I do that, and you may not known that before. So I think first, self-awareness. Second, getting concise around who you are, what you do, and where you do it. And then 3, figuring out how you want to extrapolate that to the world. Is it a podcast? Is it an Instagram post? Is it audio? Is it blog, written? Whatever you're comfortable with. Start with one and then do it consistently enough till it becomes easy. And then tack on another and then another.
I love it. And we spoke earlier about you have like your key players and like your different parts of the business, you know, and you treat it like the Navy SEAL team, which is awesome. Big war buff. So for me, that was like, oof, you know. That's super cool too. I love how you have like the religious kind of dynamic for like the culture, and then you have this Navy SEAL kind of dynamic of giving people and using the same kind of terms and twisting it to your own. That's awesome as well. Now, for anyone out there looking to, let's say, start building up their systems, or scaling, right? What would be like a good place to start? Let's, you know, say someone just has the goal of like, oh, I want a 50-person team, or someone just wants maybe a tighter team and wants to grow maybe more of a machine. Things like that. Like, what are some key mindsets to have in building a proper foundation to scale properly?
So go to Staples, buy a binder, and buy some loose leaf paper and a pen, right? So this will work for anybody. You can be brand new or you can have a gigantic organization. You want to create an operations manual. If you have a big organization, you should have one. We know probably 70% of the actual organizations out there have no operations manual. They're just flying by the seat of their pants, right? They got busy enough, they hired a buyer's agent, whatever. So in the operations manual, the first page is going to be organizational structure. So you're going to write down every component of the company, and you're not the biggest component of the company. So you write down the name of the company, you write down maybe marketing and transaction coordination, who falls under what, marketing and sales, then you have your agents, and then you have all your supporting cast and players, just so you have a snapshot of what it is currently that you have. And maybe you're everything. I was admin, I was TC, I was marketing, I was the photographer. I was everything at one point, right? Until I didn't have enough time and I had more money, and then I deployed money to get more time. So it's always this balance of in between. But like the biggest thing that people don't do is realize that you actually have to put in the work, right? You can't just, you can probably buy your way into it if you buy an established brokerage or team, but org structure. Then I would say do a time audit. So set a timer on your phone every 15 minutes. Do it for a week. And in the next couple pages, every time the timer goes off, just write down what you're doing. I promise you it takes 2 seconds. It is not a difficult thing to do. And then at the end of the week, block off 2 hours to sit down and look at all of your tasks and find out where they fall under, and red light them or green light them. Tasks that you like doing and are dollar productive, and tasks that are not dollar productive and you absolutely hate. You want to delegate the stuff that you hate. You also want to figure out what is your dollar per hour value. So I've extrapolated what my time actually costs me and what I can do in the time frame. So driving here, I was actually able to generate a ton of business because I was on the phone the entire time, right? certain things that I used to love to do. I like editing. Like I like sitting down and creating content. At this stage in my life, it's not something that falls under my critical categories right now. So I'm not making any time to sit down and edit a video because I'd rather play with my daughter, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm saying start creating the time audit, it'll give you the tasks. Then it's SOPs, so standard operating procedures, which everybody knows. Your operations manual should have every single thing that you do detailed so you can hand it to a 5-year-old and they can do that job, right? So I would say as you build out the operations manual, you're organically going to start seeing what your organization looks like. Then you can step back and really look at, okay, how do I reverse engineer this into what I want? If you want to look at models and teams and you're curious, just like you were saying to me before, all the different models and teams and structures that are out there, start becoming a consumer. So just like somebody that wants to get good at TikTok, the advice I would give them is go be a viewer first, go follow the people that you aspire to be, look at it as a creator. How are they setting up their shots? What are they saying in the first 3 seconds? What are they using filters? Is it jump cuts? Look at it as a creator. Write that down step by step by step and then make it your own. I'd say do the exact same thing with business. Look at the people that you deem are successful. Start looking at the structure of how they operate. Reach out to them and call them. You'd be surprised at how many people will actually open up their arms and say, just like me,
yes,
this is how I operate, and this is everything that I've learned up to this point, and this is how I'm working. The main reason being, the version of me you meet now, I'll tell you all my secrets. In 6 months to a year, I'm going to be working so hard. This is like Prime 2.0. You're going to meet Prime 3.0. You're going to meet Prime 4.0
yes, exactly.
as long as you keep growing, right? So I think the operations manual, the time audit are two very useful tools for somebody that's getting started.
Yeah, I love that. That's really cool. I love the red light, green light, and just laying it all out. And with when it comes to your SOPs, are you using like certain platforms or programs where you are kind of delegating those tasks to people? So everything's like on the hub? Yeah.
So here's the answer to that. I've as of today started calling them POPs. Wait. Okay. Instead of an SOP, which is a standard operating procedure, my friend Brian told me this morning, he calls them exceptional operating systems. He's like, I'm going to call mine prime operating systems, right? A little bit different. So they're prime operating systems. It's very basic. I said, go get some loose leaf paper. I write it down. Once I've approved what the SOP looks like, then it needs to live in a platform.
Yes.
So I use Google Docs for my SOPs. So I've gotten away from the loose leaf. I like Google Docs because you can have a table of contents and you can actually link different SOPs and jump around the document if you need to. It's searchable. So build your SOP in Google Docs. Great free solution for you.
Yeah.
Once I've approved it, then my question is this an organization-related list or is this a people-related list? So I use a CRM called Follow Up Boss, phenomenal platform. Great.
I have them too, yeah.
So if it's a people thing, right, then it'll actually live in Follow Up Boss. So once the SOP is approved, it becomes an action plan.
Okay.
So the action plan then is applicable to any file and becomes a checklist automatically.
Beautiful.
Once a year, we review our SOPs. Or if I see an SOP that's not optimized, we'll pull it down off the shelf and we'll look at it and be like, what steps do we need to change? And then we'll change it and then we'll put it back into the operating system. So prime operating system is just the checklist, and then it goes into an action plan in the system that it should live in.
Yeah, it sounds incredible. I love it. Question for you though. Did you do Hell Week?
No, never did it.
Okay. Are you going to do Hell Week?
What is that?
Navy SEAL training.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing Hell Week. No, I need a hip replacement, so I'm not doing Hell Week anytime soon.
It's all right. We got the Navy SEAL who just is good enough without even doing the training, okay? So for all you special operators out there, watch out for Justin.
That's awesome.
But, man, you've been pouring on the knowledge. I've just been here listening, and it's been great. Fortunately, these are only half-hour podcasts. And I do want to segue into our last segment here.
Sure.
And I love to ask every beautiful mind I have on here their take on kind of what's going on in our current market, especially now with, all this news, So, because a lot of people just focus on, like, the news, like, oh, my God, things are going to, hit the fan. Shit's going to hit the fan. So what's Justin's take on, let's say, the latter end of 2022 with the current news out there and where the market's headed?
You like soccer?
I do.
I had a feeling.
Okay. It's because I'm Italian.
Yeah. So
okay.
Kids playing soccer, right? 5-year-old kids specifically. They're in a pack. Ball goes out, and they all just chase the ball.
Yeah.
To me, that's what's happening with the market right now, but it's historically what's happened with the market for the last, even since about 2017, right? So when we started seeing the market getting crazy, I called Jazz and I called friends here being like, so what do you do when you have 50 offers on a property and way over asking? And we navigated those waters. If you track the data from 2017 to today, it's the exact same data. The inventory levels are almost identical every single time. Last year, this exact time, it was bananas until May. It dropped off until August. It went absolutely mayhem in fall. Combine that with a government that is now trying to buy votes with a whole bunch of housing policies because they've realized that one of the biggest items on people's minds is, I can't buy a house. I can't afford to buy a house. I can't afford to buy a house. And they're now in a place where their political aspirations are tied directly to satisfying people from a popular vote perspective. Yeah. I think what they've done is they've instituted a bunch of policies to make themselves look really good because there's a vote coming around the corner and they may or may not have done the best job over the last couple of years. And they're trying to position themselves to be like, look, I'm helping you. My problem with that is they're reacting to a market that may not be here when they actually roll it out. Right. And I'm okay with some of the policies that they've put in place because it's actually going to make me more valuable in every aspect of the word. So let's go over like the 3 or 4 major things that people are thinking about. Mortgage rate increases, right? We just shot a podcast with this on Saturday. Mortgage went up 50 basis points, took some buyers out of the marketplace. It's going to go up another 50 basis points in June. I call people smarter than me. All the experts are even looking at variables, and some people are rushing to fix, and they're like, no, variable is still a really good look unless we're looking at a major increase, which we're still about a year or two away from. So let's take the emotions out of it. Let's look at the actual facts. The buyers that were complaining 2 months ago they couldn't buy a house and they were losing out on offers left, right, and center, inventory levels are gigantic right now. Everybody's flooding the market with inventory. Go buy a house. Yeah. There's never been a better time to get into a property, but they're not because they're like, well, all of these housing changes are going to change everything and the housing market's going to crash. My opinion, historically, real estate's one of the most recession-proof assets, and it's one of the only leveraged assets that I can put 20% or 5% down, own an asset that I can keep for 20 or 30 years. So again, are you working with your consultants and your power team for a 20-year plan or a 5-year plan or a worst-case scenario plan? I think you'll be very surprised at how good it is right now to be a buyer. I'll put an asterisk to this. I don't care if the market's up or down. I'm still in business. Because if the market crashes, all of my investors that are liquid are buying up everything because they're buying at 7 and 9 cap rates, which they haven't been able to buy for 10 years. So as a real estate agent, a lot of people think, well, we want the market to be amazing and go buy a house, go buy a house. I'm like, I'm unemotional about it.
Yeah, we're good on either end.
Auctions. That was the announcement today. 2023, the government's going to allow sellers to do auctions. Do I think every seller is going to do it? No, because it's disadvantageous to sellers. 100%. Do I think that I'll be more successful if they do? Yeah, 100%. Because I haven't built my business on sheer profits. I said at the very beginning, it's people before profits. And my buddy Ray Allen told me this once. We were talking about where's the market go? I'm like, let's run scenarios. What scenario is the agent actually being taken out of the transaction? He got it. He's like, Amazon buys Berkshire Hathaway, owns 60% of the market, right? All the conglomerate that owns all of the real estate companies, takes all agents, puts them in a warehouse, pays them 1% to sell a property because they've got all the tech, right? Yeah. What do they not have though? Relationships.
Yes.
And I'm like, as all this stuff starts coming out and tech and data and sold data becomes more accessible to consumers, it makes me more valuable because my value prop isn't the data. I hope they have all the sold data in the world. It's the interpretation of the data. It's how well I know the market. It's my relationships I built over 20 years with people that Amazon can't get access to because they didn't let them pass the line at Kohl's for 10 years like I did, and they don't know their character like I know these people. And I truly, truly believe that if you scale people above profits, I genuinely believe Amazon could buy that company and they couldn't hold a candle to what I could offer a client in terms of my platform, my access, my abilities. And here's the last big ticket. I pull stats, we have more leads and views than realtor.ca. So in a world where everybody thinks MLS is the golden goose, I'm effectively selling properties more through our media company than I am through realtor.ca.
Yep.
So now, how much does it matter?
Yes. And that is the new wave.
That's
right?
It, right?
And I'm going to keep going a bit because you are absolutely crushing it. So you're probably my longest one. Right?
I can talk for everybody knows this.
Yeah, so
get me on a stage.
You're getting a special place in the podcast right now. Okay, we're breaking some rules.
Well, I hope people aren't jumping off, right? So I'll know when you send me the
they're
views.
Probably just like, hopefully when they're driving, they're not like just getting lost, and it's going to get dangerous with the wisdom you're spitting. But you are a very well-educated man. Like, you are just dropping bombs of knowledge, education, and all that. So what do you do outside of work to like sharpen your all the tools in your shed? Like, where are you soaking up all this knowledge from? Do you have like a daily practice? Are you constantly educating? Are you consuming? Like, what's Justin doing are you just having conversations with like-minded individuals? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think it's the last one's the biggest one. I talked about how the people create the culture, right? For sure. So I'm leveraging and building relationships with people where we're sharing abundantly, right? I think that's the key. But I'm also showing up every day and doing it. Now, there's two key points. One, when I talked earlier about SOPs and systems and checklists and structures, it can be a lot for some people. And even time blocking in my schedule and discipline, like I maybe hit it 70% of the time. I eat the pizza. Like I'm not perfect by any means. I fail all the time. We talk about faith. People will look at somebody with my faith and think, well, he thinks he's perfect. I'm more broken than you. I promise you that, right? The key is I don't let that define me. And I put my ego aside and I try to find the people that are like you. So before I got here, Jazz and I had a conversation about you, right? Because I was like, I was like, I was actually supposed to go to the REC Center today, but it's under construction. There's some other stuff going on. And he's like, bro, he's like us. I'm like, that's all I need to hear. I'm like, perfect. Because I know that as you grow your organization, you're going to have an insatiable thirst for knowledge. You're going to be interested in different things than I am. So as we talk and I need perspective on stuff, I'll reach out to you randomly. But what do you think about this?
Yes.
Right? So I'm constantly looking for people that are smarter than me to get in my ecosystem and just collaborate. But I'm also looking for ways to help them so that it's not just me trying to just siphon information from them. And I find that that's what's generated the knowledge that I have today.
Yes.
It's crowdsourced. It's not me. It's not like I'm super smart and I read a million books. I'm not smart. I have a hard time staying focused. I didn't do well in school.
Yeah.
I have really smart friends who happen to share a lot of information with me, and I listen. I think that's the key.
I love that. Thank you, Jazz. Shout out to you. Thank you for allowing me in this circle. Jazz is great, man. We've met after the fact. Me and you will do the same. I thrive off of those connections as well.
Yep.
And, just we help each other just keep taking steps,
Yeah.
And I think that's super powerful in any business. But for, any of you realtors out there or whoever's listening, whatever you're in, surround yourself with the right people and you will just by default grow. So I think that's a perfect way to end this. You've been incredible. Thank you so much for sharing and driving all the way here. And I'm excited to come to Grand Bend and see you. But for everyone listening, we're going to drop all your tags and everything in the links of our platforms. Where can they find you? Like, where's the best spot? If someone wants to say, what up, Justin? Where do they find you?
So if you want to actually like DM me and have a conversation, my Instagram account @justin.konikow is the place to find me. If you actually want to learn the time blocking, the systems, the SOPs, I put that all on my personal YouTube channel. So that's agent focused. More just giving you a glimpse into like my crazy brain. So it's a lot, but that's where you'll find the info.
Okay, awesome. Well, my friends, again, I told you I only bring you the best. I appreciate you guys always tuning in, showing the love. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.